everyone, Amanda here. Thanks for joining me today. So I'm doing 2 French blue journals. So they're very loosely French themed, very loosely, and the main colour throughout is blue. So what I thought I'd do is I've got my basic pages here, and I thought I'd share how I make really easy, no fuss fabric covers, and then I'm going to show you how to sew the signature in. And this is a very simple journal. It's a nice size. It's, what does it measure? So the cover is 6 by, it'll be 8 and a, yeah, 8 and a, just over 8 and a quarter. So it's just, I make them just ever so slightly larger than the signatures. And I've done the cover, the fabric, the same front and inside. Okay, and it's lovely and flexible like that. And that's how I like it. Because this is just the bare pages. Once I've filled that with ephemera, and then whoever gets the journal fills it with what they want, then with the fabric cover you've got lots of room to grow, lots. Okay, so it's really nice. You can see the stitches down the side. I'm going to show you the full process. It's foolproof, it's easy. There are more professional ways of doing it if you're a professional sewer. I'm not a professional sewer, I'm just a crafter and a journal maker using what I've got in my collection and the very basic sewing skills. Okay, so there's no reason you can't do it too. So to start with, you just want a piece of cardstock, decent quality cardstock that doesn't you can tell good quality cardstock because when you fold it, it doesn't split there. If you've got rubbish card or cheaper quality card, when you score it and fold it, it'll start and kind of like split at the seam. Okay, and if you fold it backwards and forwards a few times and it doesn't split at the seam like that, then it's decent. That's all I'm putting inside mine, along with either down the spine there. Okay, you want some very thin cotton fabric like I've shown you before. I use the bed sheets. Okay, so you cut a strip of that and glue it front and back down the spine. Okay, yeah, or what I'm going to actually use today is Tyvek. I've got some of this, which is like, it's meant to be non-tearable paper. You know, like how your pound notes are not meant to tear. Well, this stuff's not meant to tear. It's quite strong. And I've recycled this from a big envelope that a company sent me. And as soon as I realised that it was actually Tyvek, I was thrilled. So I've cut myself a piece, just roughly. And I'm going to cut it to size. Okay. And all this will do is just strengthen the spine. So that you know, there's no way of it kind of tearing. Like I say, if you don't have any of this, add some cotton fabric. If you don't have cotton fabric, you can use micropore tape, which you use you know, for putting bandages on and stuff like that. I've seen people use that. If you don't have that and you're really stuck, just put 2 layers of cardstock together. I'm only doing 1 layer on purpose because I don't want it to feel stiff at all. I don't want any kind of stiff feeling. So I'm just going to very carefully tack this down, down the, just down 2 edges. Okay. I don't want loads and loads of glue because I'm going to be sewing and I don't want hard bits of glue. So I'm very sparing with the glue there. And then I'm going to make sure I really flatten that glue out. So all I've done is I've got a sheet of A4 cardstock, that's UK A4, and folded it in half. Yeah, if you're in America or wherever, your sizes might be slightly different. Right, so I'm smoothing that really good so that there's no hard lumps of glue. Right, now if that is not stuck down fully and it's a little bit bubbled, it doesn't matter because we're going to sandwich it. It's just there so that when you sew through, it gives you added strength, although the fact that you're adding fabric front and back anyway is going to give you the strength, okay? Now, the best piece of advice that I can give you when you're covering with fabric, you'll have to excuse me, I've got my dressing gown on. I've got a bit of a fibro flare coming, so I'm wrapped up warm and I've got the heating on to try and ward it off. So the best tip that I can give you is to have straight edges on your fabric to start with. It just makes life a bit easier. I'm not brilliant at cutting in a straight line. I'm not brilliant at cutting fabric. I don't have a rotary cutter. If you have anything like that, it's going to make your life a lot easier. So yeah, so what I do is, in my first instance, I just use these and then I trim it down with a Stanley knife and a metal ruler. So you get your fabric, so you want, I'm looking for a nice straight edge here, alright, just to make my life easy, okay, and if you've bought it from a decent place, you should have a nice straight edge. I got this from Amazon, it's absolutely beautiful, I'm absolutely in love with it. So, I mean, if you want a specific, if you like, well, I really want that on this part of my front page, then, you know, you'll have to cut it strategically. I'm not going to cut it strategically because I don't want to waste any of this fabric. It's not cheap. So, then what I do is, I'm just going to place my cardstock over. I just want to make sure I get some sort of image though, don't I? I don't want it to look at utter pants. Let's have a look. Right, so that's going to be my front, isn't it? So we'll cut there, shall we? I'm not bothered. Do you know what? I'm not bothered. I'm not bothered. Because 12 fabric is 12 fabric, everybody knows what it is. So I'm just going to layer it there, okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to fold it over so that it's in like a sandwich with my straight edges top and bottom, okay. I'm going to have a small gap there because this is a ½ metre wide strip, but you know, we're not going to worry about that for now. So that's all straight, and I will tell you that it is just really important that you get things straight to start with. After that, it doesn't matter, because if an edge is a little bit wonky or a bit frayer, then it's shabby chic. It's fine. Don't matter. Okay, so I'm just going to clip at the top there to just keep that piece straight for me. And these little clips are lifesavers. I've got them, they're everywhere in my craft room. I use them to hold my signatures together. I use them for all sorts. So, you know, you can get them from the pound shop. I would invest in a pack of these little bulldog clips. If next time you see some, get yourself a packet. They're an invaluable tool for journal makers. So I'm just going to make sure the rest of the length of my fabric is straight, because I don't want any mishaps. I don't want to cut my fabric wonky. I don't want to cut it wonky because then the next time I use it, I want a straight edge, or as straight as I can get, okay, as good as I can get. So if you just take the time to prep it and make sure it's all straight, then after that it's plain sailing. You know, you don't need technical knowledge to get something straight. Yeah, you just got to adjust it and just take your time. I'm just readjusting that to make sure it's all completely straight. Now I can just about see the edge of my cardstock there, alright? So I can either use my pinking shears. I'm really not very good with these. But we're going to have a go. So I'm going to use these and I'm just going to cut. I've left about, I don't know, 1/4 of an inch, 1/2 inch maximum because I don't want to waste my fabric. Okay, now don't worry if this is at this stage is not perfect. Just try and go in a straightish line because we're going to trim this off anyway. Yeah, so just take it slow. It's an easy way of doing it, but you've just still got to be mindful. So that's not bad for straight. So then when I come to want to make some more, I've still got quite a straight edge, okay, and because I've used my pinking shears, this is not going to fray while it's in my drawer, while it's being stored, okay. Right, now, if you're a clever clogs, like my friend Louisa, and you know what you're doing with sewing, you can, you know, fold that all in and do your blanket corners and whatever have you. I'm not that clever, okay, I'm not a seamstress. So what I just do now, I'm just going to trim this bottom bit off so I can see, again I can see the edge of my cardstock, and I'm just going to trim where this join is. I'm going to trim it off. Okay, I might just go off screen a minute. I'm not going right up to the cardstock. Yeah, I'm going just below. If you don't have pinking shears, use normal scissors, it's fine. Just stops it fraying, that's all. Okay. Now this piece here, I will not waste this because I can cut that into segments, I can put it on my tags, I could make tabs, fabric tabs, page tabs with it. That will not get wasted. No, not wasting that. Right, so now you can take your clips off, okay, and you've got your two pieces of fabric that are roughly the right size, okay. So then decide which one you want where, so have a look. So that's going to be my front, so let me have a look at this piece here. Right, let's have a look here. Just going to see which one I want on the front, although it doesn't really matter because you know that it's beautiful fabric. Either way, it's fine by me. I think I'll just go with that one for the front. It's more or less the same anyway. It's more or less mirror image. That one's got a little bit more of that house on. Might have that on the inside and that on the outside. Yep, so when you've decided which way around you want them, so this is what I do, okay. Now you don't have to do this, but this is what I do. I add a very small amount of glue, very small, very thin beads, because otherwise you don't want to feel that, glue, okay, and you don't want it seeping all the way through. So I'm only doing it around the edges, okay. On my first one I actually used glue stick because I didn't want the glue to show through at all. I'm going to go for this and then put it on. Okay, straight as you can because you want your pattern to be kind of straight. Although if it's a little bit off, who cares? Don't matter. Give that a really good press. If you want to be super careful, you could put Tyvek or fabric strip on the other side as well. You can put fabric on the spine there afterwards. You know, you can do a decorated fabric spine afterwards. Super easy. Okay. So that's not loads of glue. That is just holding that in place because ultimately what we're going to do is I am going to be sewing it on my sewing machine. If you don't have a sewing machine, there's no reason that you can't sew by hand, okay? Now the thing that you need to be mindful of here is that the fabric might stretch. You don't really want it stretching and warping out of, you know, out of shape. So just be careful, okay? Then we're going to put the, obviously we're going to put the other side on. So I'll just put some on my Tyvek and then very small amount just around the edges. Just a very, and all it's doing really is tacking it down so that when you're sewing with your machine or by hand, it doesn't move. Yeah, it's just helpful, because otherwise what can happen is the fabric can bunch up, and also underneath, sometimes your underneath bit when you're sewing can be bunching up and your top bit looks alright and you don't realise, and you end up with it like that. So that's why I'm tacking it down with a little bit of glue first. So if there's any you know, really good seamstresses out there that's thinking, Amanda, what are you doing? I'm making life just that little bit easier based on problems that I've come up with in the past doing it, and I'm showing a very, very easy way of doing it for people that aren't massively experienced with fabric, and you know, so that everybody can have a go. Everybody can have a go at this. And if you can't, if you don't have the funds to get nice fabric, I mean, it cost me just short of £6 for this fabric, which was half a metre wide by a metre long, so it's not bad. Cheap ways of getting fabric, like I say, are your bed sheets. You can get bed sheets, you can dye this, you can make ruffles out of it, flowers out of it, you can stamp on it with stays on, so you could make your own recycled bed sheets from charity shops, pillowcases. I've used all sorts over the years, absolutely all sorts of stuff. You can get some lovely, you know, quilted bed toppers and things like that from charity shops. All you've got to do is bring them home and wash them. You know, just wash them, put them on a boil wash. It's not going to hurt you. It's only a bit of fabric. We know we're not putting it in our mouths. Right, so now what I'm going to do is just trim that, and I'm going to trim it with a sharp blade. Now, if you're a proper fabric crafter, you'll have a rotary blade. I don't have such things. I used to do years ago. I had one. Don't know what I did with it. So I'm just feeling where the edge of that cardstock is. You'll be able to feel it. And I'm just moving ever so slightly past it. Okay? It's not a measurement, it's just an ever so slightly past it. Just because sometimes fabric can shrink when you've glued it, when you fold your pages, you know, your cover over, it might shrink a little bit. So we're just going slightly over, and also because it's fabric, we're going to sew it so that it doesn't fray, but ultimately it might fray a little bit. So if you go just a little bit past, literally maybe, if you want a measurement, I'd say maybe 1/4 inch maximum. Yeah. So let me just get that right. What I'll say is, at this point, although nothing needs to be perfect in crafting, if you take your time to prep and be careful what you're doing, then you'll get a positive outcome. Right, so metal ruler. Don't use wooden, don't use plastic if you're using a blade, because you'll end up just slicing the ruler and ultimately slicing your fingers. Yeah, make sure your blade's nice and sharp. And you shouldn't have a problem as long as your blade's sharp. If it starts puckering, your blade's not sharp enough, stop what you're doing. Yeah, I've got scissors that wouldn't cut this fabric as well. I mean, you can use scissors if you want, but I just find that if you can do it all in one long cut using a blade, you've less room for error, less opportunity to cut it, you know, all zigzaggy and a bit messy and not straight. Yeah, I need a new blade. Can you see how it's pulling the fabric? I need a new blade in, but it'll be all right to just do this. And I am using a glass mat as well, so just be mindful. Don't start cutting it on your, you know, your grandma's. I might save that as well. I could probably add those little bits to something on your grandma's, you know, heirloom dining table. Or something like that. Now, because my blade's not massively, it needs changing. I'm getting some where it's a little bit raggedy there, but it doesn't matter because I'm going for a shabby chic, a shabby vintage look anyway, so it's fine. Okay. And this one just wants just a smidge off. Don't do that. Don't clean your blade with your fingers like I just did. That's why I've always got cuts and stuff on my hands, because I'm daft. Right, this blade is too blunt. So I'm just going to really quickly change my blade. Just bear with me 1 second. Sorry about this. You can fast forward this bit. Let me just move that there. Right, there we go. Okay. See the difference? It cuts like a, you know, knife through butter with a sharp blade. No problem at all. Right, so let me just put this away before I actually chop my arm off. So that is, yeah, oh, I'm going to need to do that bit as well. That's me thinking I'd done. I've got another edge to do. Okay, the edge of the cardstock's there. And up there it's there, so I want to be about there. Yeah, about there. Just ever so slightly over. Yeah. So these little strips, even you can save, because you could put them on your tags and things, so I'll be saving those. Just tidy up where you've got any pulls. Always pulls for me just at the corner. It's probably because I'm trimming it sat down. I probably get better results if I stood up. So that has trimmed that absolutely perfectly fine as far as I'm concerned. Okay, so then all you want to do is just go to your sewing machine, and what I do is I stitch all the way around the edge first in a plain stitch, a straightforward stitch. Okay. It just, that immediately holds it all together. Then I'll go around and I'll do a second row of a fancy stitch if I want to. I always do at least 2 rows, because in the first row will, so the fabric will only fray up to the first row, so do that as close to the edge as possible. Okay, and then your second row you can do what you want. So I'm going to go sew this. When we come back, we'll sew in the signatures. Okay, so I've sewn mine now. So a couple of tips. I'm just going to trim off. You can leave all of these threads hanging if you want. My brain won't allow it. But it looks really nice. Now the edge there still looks a little bit frayer. Now, I like it like that. If you don't want it like that, what you can do is you can fold the fabric under, so you've got like a hem. I don't feel it's necessary to go to such extremes for a journal cover. It won't fray past the sewing. So I'm just trimming that off. And then I'm going to just tell you about the little tips. So if, like me, you're just a complete novice at sewing, I've got a decent sewing machine, but I'm really not a sewer. So what you want to do is, on the first row of sewing, which I've done a straight stitch, you've got like your foot like that. Have it this edge in the middle of the prongs of the feet, and have it on quite a low speed. It's so much easier to control if you've got it on a low speed. Might take longer, but I mean, you know, who cares? Take your time, it's fine. And then for the second row, I've done a dotted zigzag, so I don't think you'll see it. It's like a dotted zigzag, and what I've done there is I've had the outer edge of the journal on the outer edge of the foot. Okay, so the foot's like that, and that's the edge of the foot, so it goes there for that one. Okay, so you're sewing down the middle, and for the first one it's like that. So then you've got 2 rows of stitching. Okay, different stitches, some will do it at that side, some will do it at that side, depends what sewing machine you've got. If you're doing it by hand, just do 2 rows of running stitch. If you don't want to sew it, you can just glue it. Okay, you can. I just think it's a nicer finish and nice and soft to have complete fabric with no glue. That's all. And then that's your complete journal. Now I like this rough and ready look. What you can then do after, if you so desire, let me just see if I've got any to hand, is you can, have I got any? I've only got this one, okay. Oh, we'll use this as an example. You can then go around and you can glue on a trim if you don't like that frayed edge, okay? And you can just glue that on with Fabri-Tac, and you can glue trim on just one side. You could sew it on both sides. I've done that before on a journal, and it looks really pretty. On this one, I'm leaving it because I want it rough and shabby, okay? Or you've got this kind of, this is great for going on, and you can just literally glue it on, okay? You don't have to sew that. What other tips did I have? Oh yes, also if you're not good at going around corners with a sewing machine, what I do, because sometimes what happens is I'll get the corners puckered doing that. I'm not brilliant at it myself, so I will just sew in a straight line right to the end, and then I'll take it out, cut the cotton, and then put it back in and start again, and then come out, cut the cotton, turn it and start again. So I don't go around the corners, I just run off and then start again. It's not, you know, you're not making somebody's wedding dress. It's a journal, it doesn't have to be perfect, okay? So don't worry about it, don't overthink it. And because I've used white cotton, you can hardly see it anyway. You can hardly see it. You've got to like proper squint to see it. It's still nice and neat and tidy because I went slow, and that is the key, I think, to getting a nice edge, is to go quite slow. Now what I did do as well was I did go down there. I didn't do it on this one. I don't think it's necessary. I just felt like I needed to on this one. But I've not done it there, so you don't have to, just go on around 4 sides. Alright, so now I'm going to show you how to put in the signatures. So I've got a foaming mat here, it's nice and soft. If you don't have a foaming mat, use a, I don't know, telephone directory or a old book or something. You need a nice sharp object. So this is a pokey tool. This was sent to me by my friend Tanya, so I use that sometimes, but I'm always a bit worried that I'm going to break it with the pressure because it's handmade. So I've also got this one, which is just a normal pokey tool, but it's a bit thick. I've also got you're gonna laugh, I've also got a nappy pin. This actually was in my mother-in-law's sewing box that she gave me before she passed, and this was actually my husband's nappy pin when he was a baby. She had twins, my husband and his sister are twins, and this was his. Now I like this because it gives me, and I just pull it like that. I mean, it's lasted 50 odd years. I don't suppose me using it for my journals is going to matter, but it gives me a nice, that gives me a nice small hole, a nice and thin. Yeah, because sometimes I don't want to see the big holes, if you know what I mean. But however, if my journal's thick, then that one can be no good. So you get your pages. Let me just make sure your clips are essential, absolutely essential. So go through your pages, make sure they're all roughly where you want them. I'm not too worried if they're not straight. I like to cut mine all different sizes, as long as they fit within the parameter of the cover. That's all I'm bothered about. Just make sure nothing's mega wonky. That one's moving up a bit, that pocket. That's fine. Let's move that book page. In fact, no, we'll leave it like that, it's fine. Right, everything's fine, so get it all together. Just also double check that all your pages are the right way up, because I've done it before where I've sewn a signature in, and then when I go through to have a look, some of my pages are the wrong way around, which is a bit of a nightmare. But it's not, you know, you can always cut your strings and redo it, don't matter. Right, so so give it all a good crease. Now I'm only doing one signature, I find it easier to do one signature on fabric journals. Okay, it gets a bit more tricky when you've got two signatures, so I'd rather do one thick signature. This is about 80 pages, so there's about 20 different sheets. I probably wouldn't go much thicker than that for a single signature, otherwise you're going to struggle to make the holes. So here we've got a piece of cardstock. Let me just clip those together a minute. So what you do is you get a piece of cardstock. This measures, what is it, about 8 inches? It's 8 1/4. 8 1/4. You find the centre, and then you find the centre of that, and you can find that easily by folding it in half, and you make a dot. And then what I do is, from the top each, I do 3/4 of an inch. From the top in, from the top in. So you've got one in the centre and one at 3/4 of an inch in. Okay, and this is a 3-hole pamphlet stitch. Okay, if you want more technical information and tutorials, search 3-hole pamphlet stitch into your YouTube and you'll get experts doing it rather than me. But so I've got all of my pages where I want them. Okay, and I like to keep mine at an angle like this when I'm doing my, when I'm getting it ready, and I'll keep on adjusting it, okay, to try and make sure those pages get nice and down, and so that they're not, so that they just nicely into the crease, all nicely. I can't think of a technical term for it. They're just nicely. Now, the easiest way to do this, in all honesty, is to do it all at once. Okay? When I'm doing a paper journal, you know, with a cardstock cover or chipboard, I will put the holes in here first, and then sometimes I'll have one of these with flaps, which is a floating spine, or sometimes I'll do the holes separate into the spine. When it's a fabric one, I just find it easier to do the whole thing at once. So I'm going to put this right into the fold, right into the fold, okay? And I'm measuring, I'm just looking by eye to make sure that I've got the same gap top and bottom, all right? And it's a case of double checking, triple checking, okay? Then what you want to do is just open that up. Make sure that that is pushed as far down as possible. Okay, some people have like these cradle things. I'd love one. Really would love one. If anybody wants to go to their woodwork shop and make me one, that would be great. But for now, I'll make do with this. Right, so clips. Clips are essential. Just keep looking because you want to make sure that those signatures are right into the crease. Okay, there's no gap between, right in, and I'm just constantly pressing it downwards with my fingers to get it right into the, I can't emphasise enough how it will just be better to just make sure it's right in. So just keep taking these off, make sure it's right in, okay, and then just re-add the clips. So you might need to just keep readjusting it. I'm just seeing if I've got any more clips anywhere. I could do with another couple. Have I got any more hanging about? I don't know where they all are. I've got loads. I've got billions of them, but are they here? No. Oh, there's one, which is only small, so it's not going to be much use. So then I get my little doofer with my holes, and I put it in, and again push it right down, and then I literally look by eye. Okay. Now, when I'm doing, like I said, a hardcover one, I will do it a lot more. I don't know if I do it more precisely, but I'll measure it and I'll double check it. Okay, so with this one, and then get your fingers right in and just keep re-emphasising that kind of a V shape. Don't do it when it's flat like that. Don't. Keep it, if you can, do your holes while it's like that, because then it's nice and snug down in that fold. And I know I'm repeating myself, but it's because it's really important. Right? Then you get your your tool and you make your holes. And because you've got it folded like this, okay, as close to possible as you can, then that hole should come out of the spine on the fold. Otherwise it'll come out somewhere down here or somewhere up here, which is why I'm keeping telling you about double checking and re-emphasising that it's that folds tight. Okay. Alright, now you can clip this in if you can find some more clips. I can't seem to find any, can I, so I'll have to manage. So I'm holding it with my finger instead. Okay. Right. And then go in and do the other one. I hope you can see. Yep. Just put that back in place, just double check, don't take for granted that it's in the right place, double check. I'm actually just going to turn it around because I'm right-handed and my left arm's not very good at the moment. I've got quite a bad arm on my left side. I want putting down. If I were an arse, they'd send me to the glue factory. Okay, so I'm going to put my... There we go. Alright. So that's your holes made. Right, so just bob that to one side. Just leave that little template in there for a moment. Okay, there's no rush to remove it. Then I'm going to get my needle and my thread. So what I do is I always go 4.5 times the length of the book with my thread. I'd rather have too much thread than I'm in the middle of sewing it and I don't have enough. So 1, 2, 3. Of course it's knotted up. Of course you are, you silly sausage. Let me just go again. Because I double it over as well, you see. So 1, 2, 3, 4, we'll do 5. Now this is linen thread. Now I find it expensive. What I also do use, and when this is run out I won't be buying any more, because what I do also use is dental floss. 49p from Home Bargains, you get 45 metres. And it's just the same, you've just got to make sure your hands are clean. And it's just as good and it's just as strong. Right, where have I put that needle now? There it is. This is just a slightly larger needle than normal, probably for, it's not quite a darning needle but just slightly larger. And the reason I don't use a needle that's any fatter is because I don't want the holes to, I try to do it so the holes don't show, although if they do it doesn't matter. Okay, so I've doubled it up. Okay, right, so this is where hopefully it's going to work, because sometimes you can struggle and it's normal at this stage to struggle, so don't worry, all you've got to do is be patient. Alright, so you start by going in the middle, okay, and because I've kept it kind of shut like that, that's lined up perfect. It's the next two that might not line up perfect. So what I do then, get my tails, and I am just going to put that little clip on it. That just stops me pulling it back through by accident. Okay, right, okay, so now we want to try and find that top hole. I can just about see it there, I think it is, and hopefully because I've kept it kind of like closed like that, hopefully, and clipped in, then that will just line straight back up with the inside. So let's have a look, has it? Yay! Doesn't always work that way, in which case don't worry, just persevere. And even if you have to go through the cover and then go through each page one at a time, sometimes that's how it goes. Okay, don't worry. It's not because you've not done it right, it's just how it goes. Sometimes it lines up straight away, sometimes you've got to faff with it. Okay, I was lucky then. And then, so what we're going to do now, I'm just going to shove it, because I've opened it, that might have unlined now. So now I'm going to go straight from there, straight to the top hole, okay, and hopefully I'm going to get that through. Because I've opened it, it might not get through straight away now. Right, so because I've been opening my book and moving it about, that's not gone straight through, so I'm just going to double check that I'm lined up. All my pages are lined up, and just re-emphasise that hole, and then hold it and go back through. There we go. Okay, and then pull. Oops, it's stuck on my clip. Let me remove that clip. Sometimes, you know, you're getting a bit of a faff and it gets stuck on your clips and you're shouting at fruit in Asda, but it's fine, don't worry, it's normal. Okay, so I'm going to pull that. Make sure them threads are all straight. Just move that out of the way. Okay, right. So I'm just going to make sure these threads are at this side, and when I come up through the middle, I want my threads to come to this side. Okay, so I'm not tightening any of my strings just yet. Right, so let's see if we can get this lined up. This will be a miracle if this lines up straight away. The crafty gods will have been on my side. I'm not going to hold my breath. Okay, then you go back through the centre. Oh my goodness! The gods are on my side today. So then make sure that your sewing comes up the opposite side to the other tails. Alright? Then at this point you can take that off, and this is when you want to start and adjust your tension. There you go. Now I want a bit more. I'm just going to adjust the length on here. That's it. I just want that other tail to be a bit longer, so I'm just adjusting it. Right. There we go. So now my tails are either side of this, and they're more or less the same length. So at this stage you want to just gently tug, okay? And then just have a look and see if this is fairly taut, which it is. It's not all baggy, and it's straight, so it's not puckered, and it's all straight there, and it's not puckered. And then if I just look there, yeah, it's nice and neat down there. There's not a big baggy hole. Yeah, so that means the stitching's nice and tight. So give it a little gentle tug, not too tight, otherwise you're just going to rip your pages. Okay, gentle tug. Out. Stab your finger. Don't stab your finger. Then tie it in. I tie mine in 2 knots. Just to double check. Now some people will hide this by turning that into a pocket. Yeah, maybe. So you can't see it. Some people will use it as a feature and put beads on the end or whatever. Sometimes I'll put like butterflies on them and stuff. So I'm going to leave it as it is. So there we go. I've been determined to get a tutorial of how to sew a signature into a journal on my channel for I don't know how long, and have finally had the courage to do it. So that is how you very easily make yourself a fabric journal cover and sew in your signatures. Then comes the fun part, and that is the decoration. Go and have some fun. I hope you found that helpful. I'm sorry if it went on a bit, but I wanted to explain everything from the needle to the thread. Do you get what I see what I did there? Go and have some fun. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.